Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Senator Cheese Escudero accused Representative Martin Romualdez of spreading a script meant to make senators the fall guys while diverting attention from allegedly guilty congressmen.
Ako Bicol Representative Zaldico resigns from his position as a member of the House of Representatives amid allegations of budget insertions and project kickbacks.
Former PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azorin Jr. is the new advisor of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, replacing Mayor Benjamin Magalong.
The DOJ has resumed its preliminary investigation into the disappearance of more than 30 Sabongeros.
First in the news, Congressman Martin Romualdez brushed off Senator Cheese Escudero's claim that he is the mastermind of flood control kickbacks. The former House Speaker dismissed it as nothing more than a recycled DDS script. Here's the report.
Ako, Ginoong Pangulo, hindi ako kakampi ni Martin Romualdez. Kaya lalabanan ko siya at lahat ng panglilinlang niya.
Senator Cheese Escudero has openly challenged Congressman Martin Romualdez, accusing him of spreading a script meant to make senators the fall guys while diverting attention from allegedly guilty congressmen.
Hindi ba natin nakikita na pilit tayong pinag-aaway-away? Ito, sa aking paniniwala, ay bahagi pa din ng script at sarswela na nais palaganapin ni Martin Romualdez upang lituhin, guluhin, linlangin at sirain ang ating lipunan at bansa para lamang huwag siyang mabisto. Sana ay huwag nating payagang mangyari ito.
Escudero insisted the script was clear, pressured former DPWH officials to implicate senators, while protecting congressmen he claims were truly involved.
Klarong-klaro po ang script nito. Ipitin ang tatlong dating DPWH officials, pakantahin sa kanila, mema banggit lang na senador, habang pinagtatakpan ang mga congressman na tunay nakasabwat nila.
He further pressed Romualdez to answer for irregularities in the flood control projects. The senator also revealed that back in 2024, he pushed to realign flood control funds toward the Department of Agriculture and reported budget anomalies to President Bongbong Marcos. This, he said, may have led the president to veto large portions of the 2025 budget and to remove Congressman Zaldico as the House Appropriations Chair.
Marahil, isa rin ito sa mga dahilan kung bakit ninais ng Pangulo na matanggal si Congressman Zaldico bilang chairman ng House Committee on Appropriations. Ginoong Pangulo, sinisi po sa akin ni Speaker Romualdez ang pagkakatanggal kay Congressman Zaldico. Sinisi po niya sa akin ang pag-FLR or for late release ng kanilang mga proyekto.
Escudero further alleged that Romualdez orchestrated the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte using the FLR and even the president's name to pressure lawmakers into signing. Vice President Sara was present in the Senate plenary when Escudero made his remarks after her office's budget was earlier approved.
Ginamit ni Martin Romualdez ang FLR at ang pangalan ng Pangulong Marcos upang itulak ang kanilang unconstitutional na impeachment complaint. Sabi nila, pumirma kayo dahil kung hindi lalabas ang pondo nyo na naka-FLR bago mag-eleksyon.
In response, Congressman Romualdez dismissed Escudero's speech, saying it was not exposed but a DDS script. He added that Escudero merely deflected from questions he himself must face about flood control kickbacks. Romualdez also said Escudero's speech was nothing more than a loyalty performance for Vice President Sara Duterte.
Now to discuss that and other issues.
We have Attorney Michael Yusinko of the Ateneo Policy Center joining us live via Zoom. Attorney, thank you for joining us.
Nice to see you again.
Good morning sa inyo dalawa at good morning sa lahat ng mga viewers and listeners ng programa nyo.
Alright, Attorney, the last time we spoke, turuan pa rin na nangyayari about sino ang guilty sa flood control. Right now, turuan pa rin ang nangyayari. And this time between Senator Escudero and Congressman Romualdez, what do you make of this back and forth, and how will this impact both institutions?
First of all, sabihin na natin yung lahat ng nasa isip natin, ano, na what we're seeing now is really a sad display of the quality or the poor quality of lawmakers that we have, no, in both chambers, the Senate and the House, no, na they will not hesitate. They will not hesitate to use their positions either to promote themselves or to disparage others, no? So nakakadismaya that these are the kinds of lawmakers that we have today. Unfortunately, binoboto ng taong bayan yan, and we're stuck with that until the voters really change the people they elect to the Senate and to the House of Representatives. Now, how will that impact yung reputation ng Senado at House? Then, well, it's going really to drag the institutions down the mud further, no, na nakikita ng taong bayan na ganitong klase ang mga mambabatas natin. They are using their positions to essentially magbangayan, magpahira ng putik sa mga mukha nila, no, not doing their jobs at all, no, which is right now ang trabaho nila is to make sure that our country is on the right path to development and secured from external threats and internal threats. Right now, ang nangyayari is parang nagtuturoan na parang bata, di ba? Ikaw may kasalanan, ikaw may kasalanan. At the end of this sarsuela, no pun intended, at the end of this sarsuela, ang kawawa yung taong bayan, right?
Yeah.
Nanakawan tayo, pero yung mga pinaghihinalaan natin magnanakaw, nagpapasahan ng sisi.
Correct. A follow-up lang doon, if you remember the playbook of the late President Marcos Sr., no? Essentially, that's what happened also between yung mga chambers of the House then, ng parliament nila. Nag-aaway ang mga legislators natin to a point na he dissolved it and took control via, well, of course, it led to martial law. Now, parang may similarities in the playbook, dividing the houses, dividing the legislators. Do you see certain similarities sa playbooks?
I can understand that the suspicion, no, the suspicion because of who the president is, no, but I'm not sure, or I wouldn't go as far as say that there is a playbook being implemented here. I think what we're seeing is more of really the poor quality of the lawmakers that we have, no? That they are not true statesmen and stateswomen, that because they are dynastic lawmakers, they are more, kumbaga, they lean towards keeping themselves in power, and sometimes that means denigrating other dynastic lawmakers, no? So para sa akin, this is more about really yung kababawan, really the poor quality of lawmakers that we have, rather than a sinister playbook being employed, no?
That's a very
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a very strong observation. Poor quality of
parang
lawmakers.
Naawa naman ako sa sarili natin dito.
But, you know, we have to take note as well that it's not just Escudero and Romualdez that are finger-pointing here. We also have VP Sara Duterte, who was also present yesterday at the Senate for the budget deliberation. She even had a press conference at the Senate, diba, making accusations or echoing accusations at the former House Speaker. And meron din tayo nakitang mga photos na naglabasan, no, of her with senators who support her. So what do you make of this? Are they, sending a message to the people that their bloc is strong at the moment, and there is going to be something ahead of us or something.
I think certainly it's their behavior is they're basically performing for the peanut gallery. No? They're performing for their own supporters that kami pa rin, solid pa rin kami. But the reality is the Duterte brand or the Duterte group or however you want to call them, they are struggling now. They're being challenged now because wala silang pinuno wala silang someone that can guide them against the other side, no. So yung mga nakita natin mga photographs, yung mga press con sa Senado and yung mga drama na kahit yung budget ko ibigay mo na sa kanila ay sa OVP, these are all performances for their own supporters, no, to keep the faith or to stay with them while they are facing these challenges in the political arena. But I don't think this is something na that can cause alarm para sa ating lahat, no, because right now ang problema natin mas malaki pa doon.
Exactly.
Mas malaki pa sa
yun nga, na-divert yung attention
mga
natin sa finger pointing nila eh.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Attorney. No? A lot of people have been saying instead of a fight against corruption, it's ending up as a fight between the Duterte brand and the Marcos brand. To a point na, di ba, sino yung, if you're a believer of the PBBM brand, automatic sa'yo, corrupt yung kabilang side. If you're a believer of the DDS brand, automatic PBBM ang side ang corrupt. How will this, do you think, all unravel at the end of the day? Will we get to the bottom of this?
Certainly, we hope so. No, kasi when we get stuck with that kind of binary thinking, that basically get them all scot-free, no? Kasi lahat tayo nadidistract, lahat tayo we become partisan participants there. We forget na lahat naman sila may kasalanan eh. Right? Lahat sila ang involved dito sa pork barrel cartel na to. It's either side is complicit in the budget insertions, in the ghost projects. Wala sa kanilang inosente. Let me put it that way, no? So whatever side that you are supporting, you have to realize that complicit yan dito sa problema natin. And hopefully, yung investigation ng ombudsman, my hope is, I'm pinning my hope on the ombudsman kasi yung ombudsman will be the one who can deliver what we want and that is jail time for the dynastic lawmakers, for the corrupt bureaucrats, for the contractors, and also recover the ill-gotten wealth. That cannot be delivered by Congress. That cannot be delivered by the ICI. Diba? Only the Ombudsman and the DOJ can bring those outcomes that we desire, that we want.
Pero yun nga, no, crucial yung pag-appoint ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ng ombudsman. Until now, we don't have one yet na talagang inappoint niya. And there are front-runners, pero sinasabi nila mukhang mas nakakiling daw ngayon kay DOJ Secretary Boying Rimulya. But going back to investigation, I'd also like to ask you about the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, yung ICI, who recently recommended filed cases nga dito kala Zaldico, DPWH officials, etc. And through their spokesperson, sinabi nila hindi sila magkakaroon ng live streaming or publicized na hearing or investigation. And a lot of people are questioning that right now, saying na transparency, mas makikita namin yung accountability through transparency. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, from the very start, I never had confidence on the ICI, because from the very start, I already registered opposition to that because it was never going to be truly independent, no? Because it's a creation of the executive branch.
Correct.
Right.
It's a creation of an executive order, no, issued by the president, no. So the fact that they're saying now that they will not be transparent and that they will not open themselves to public scrutiny, that just confirms my initial assessment of it, no, that it will probably be used to shield the president from all of these prying eyes, no, na gusto natin malaman sino-sino ba involved dito. The ICI will be the instrument to sort of distract us and just focus on certain personalities. Which is what we're seeing, di ba? Na nag-file sila ng cases against certain personalities. Kasi the reality is, Angelo and Angelo, the insertions are contained in a budget law,
Yes.
which means the president, the Senate president, and the speaker are responsible for those insertions because their signature appears on those budget
Right.
laws. So, hindi pwedeng hindi sila kasali sa investigasyon. And definitely, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin that the president is blameless. Right?
That's right.
Because the president signed those laws where those insertions were contained. No? So, that's my impression of the ICI. No, I never had confidence in it that it would be truly independent, and now my initial assessment is proving to be correct.
Well, Attorney, some said na dapat in-explore ulit yung usapin ng isang commission or something similar to that of PCGG na hindi limited sa infrastructure but corruption as a whole. Kasi you brought up the point na whether or not a president is guilty, the signature is affixed on documents that lead up to corruption. So there's always that accountability. So do you think dapat na lang a constitutional commission similar to the powers of COMELEC na may fixed term ang isang individual or yung chairman, yung chairperson doon para hindi siya compromised?
Well, Diego, we already have that constitutional office to take care of or to be responsible for kumbaga anti-corruption measures, no, or mechanisms, and that's the ombudsman. That is very clear in the Constitution, na ang tawag nga sa kanya protector of the people. Kaya lang ang past experience natin with regards to the ombudsman hindi masyadong maganda, no, kasi we have seen past ombudsmans na nakakiling sa isang panig, no. So yun dapat ang tutukan natin, how to prevent that, no. Ang sinasabi ko nga, if President Marcos is really serious about leaving an anti-corruption legacy, ang dapat i-appoint niya na ombudsman is someone who has no connection to him at all.
That's right.
No professional, no personal link to him. Kasi that will tell me na yung ombudsman na yun, who has no connection to him, can perform his constitutional duty impartially and aggressively. No? Na pwede niyang puntiryahin kahit yung mga kaalyado, kahit na kamag-anak ni Pangulong Marcos. Kasi kung ang i-appoint ni Pangulong Marcos ay yung konektado sa kanya, then we can just point to the past, no? The most recent ombudsman na talagang tinatago yung kabahuan na pwedeng maibaling sa Pangulo, no? So that's what we want, that's what we don't want to happen.
Pero go ahead.
So kung talagang yung sinasabi mo nga na gusto natin ng isang agency or isang independent office to tackle anti-corruption, we already have that. That's the ombudsman. Kaya lang na nahijack ng Pangulo lagi by appointing someone who is connected to him or her. No? So dati, we had an ombudsman na chief of staff dati ng Pangulo.
Yeah.
We had an ombudsman na kaklase ng Pangulo. So, nakukompromiso agad. So, kailangan baguhin natin yon. So, we have to demand the President and the JBC na sana yung mga ihahain na candidates yung walang
Independent to
connection.
the,
Pero,
kasi pwede mong
Walang
sabihin,
connection sa Pangulo.
pwede mong sabihin after the term of the President, pwede siya maprotektahan para hindi makasuhan ng mga charges.
pero attorney, mukhang nasa top 3 ng list ng, unofficially, yung bulungan ng mga tao. You have one independent there, aside from si Secretary Remulla, si Kim Henares. I'm saying...
I'll go.
You know what I mean,
Scratch
no?
that.
Parang independent, no link to President Marcos. Si Attorney Kim Henares was one of the top na lumalabas. Ngayon, ang question ko, if you have, hypothetically, have si DOJ Secretary Remulla and Kim Henares there, and another one, do you think there is a chance that the President will bypass this time appointing somebody that's connected to him and go for the independent one, given the way PBBM has been functioning recently? He's been doing things out of the norm to try to win the people's trust.
I certainly hope so, Diego. But I don't want to say na mag-aabang na lang ako eh. I would rather take the position of civil society pressuring the President. No? Pressuring the President to appoint someone who is really independent, yung walang connection sa kanya. So while I share I can understand yung position mo, yung point mo na given the recent actuations of the President na baka mag-appoint siya ng yung talagang independent sa kanya. I would rather take the position na civil society should pressure him.
That's right.
To appoint someone na independent talaga.
Exactly. Now, well, our goal here is not to be swayed by other issues. Dapat nandun lang tayo, stick lang tayo dun sa corruption issue na pinaglalaban natin. But at the end of the day, of course, we want somebody in jail. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Attorney Michael Yusinko. Thank you so much.
Well, we want...
Maraming salamat din.
We want a lot of them in jail.
All right, in other news, Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco said the resignation of former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldi Co is not enough, stressing that he must return to the Philippines and face the accusations against him. Here is the report.
Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldi Co has resigned as a member of the House of Representatives. In his resignation letter, he cited threats to his life and family as well as the alleged denial of due process. Co denied accusations from the Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco that he orchestrated last-minute insertions and realignments in the 2025 budget when he chaired the House of Appropriations Committee. He stressed it would have been impossible to pass the budget without the approval of both the House and the Senate. He also clarified that the medical certificates are not required when filing a leave of absence, noting that as early as mid-2024, he had been consulting doctors from a heart condition. Co further denied allegations that his family lives a lavish lifestyle. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Boying Remulla said Co could be declared a fugitive if he fails to return to the Philippines.
He'll be a fugitive.
Bakit po, sir?
Wala. Hindi pa ganyan talaga pag may problema ang tao, lumayas. May problema yun.
Fugitive.
So far, hindi naman siya fugitive, pero gano'n na magiging status siya later on. That's inevitable.
He urged Co to face the allegations against him, assuring that the due process would be observed.
We have to face the music. Diba? Harapin mo yung charges, and if you say that you are innocent, then due process is always here.
Justice Chief added that Co is reportedly in Spain. According to Malacanang, the Department of Justice has already asked Interpol to issue a blue notice allowing international authorities to monitor Co's movement abroad.
Nakausap po natin ang DOJ at sinabi po sa atin na sila po ay nakapag-request na po for blue notice. At hihintay na lamang po siguro ang response.
For his part, House Speaker Bogie D. III expressed surprise over the resignation of Ko. D said Ko should return to the country and face the accusations filed against him.
Bahala na ang Department of Justice at ganun din ang ICI kung anong pwede nilang ipataw. Pero kailangan talagang bumalik siya sa lahat ng paraan na magawa.
Chiang Ko meanwhile said Ko's resignation is not enough to absolve him of accountability and that he should not be allowed to decide when to return to the Philippines.
Former PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azorin Jr. has been named Special Advisor of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Here is the report.
Former Philippine National Police Chief General Rodolfo Azorin Jr. has been appointed as the new Special Advisor of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, replacing Baguio Mayor Benjamin Magalong. In a statement, the palace thanked Magalong for his service and contributions during his tenure. The palace added that it is confident Azorin's experience in leadership will further strengthen the ICI's mandate to ensure accountability and transparency in the use of public funds. Meanwhile, the ICI has recommended the filing of charges against resigned Congressman Saldi Ko and several DPWH officials. This stems from alleged anomalies in a 290 million peso flood control project in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro. In its interim report, the Commission flagged possible violations of graft, malversation, falsification of public documents, and procurement of law.
Hindi po nang-aayon sa design kasi po ang ginamit po nila ay 3 meters lang po. Imbis na ayon sa design ay 12 metro. Kulang-kulang rin po ang mga dokumento para sa kanilang progress billing.
ICI Executive Director Attorney Brian Hosaka said more findings are expected as the probe continues.
Marami pa pong darating. Pagsusumikap po ang ICI para po mapabilis ang proseso na hindi magsasakripisyo sa quality ng aming trabaho dahil kailangan po namin maging masinop.
Justice Secretary Boying Remulla also visited the Commission's office. He submitted affidavits and assured there is no conflict between the DOJ and ICI in handling the cases.
Walang conflict kasi they can go straight to the Ombudsman. They can go to the DOJ also for the other complaints. Pero mostly with the Ombudsman yan.
The Senate's Public Works Committee is now looking into the implementation status of the government's flagship infrastructure programs. Let's watch this.
Program, and it will be implemented from 2018 to 2024. And it has already been completed. The next project is the Samar Pacific Coastal Road. This is an 18.64 kilometer, 1.24 billion peso project funded under the KADCF also, and it was inaugurated by the President last July 14, 2023. We have next slide, please. We have also under our program, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, the Inter-Island Linkage Bridge Program. Here, this will connect various islands of the province or of the country, through the construction of short and long span bridges with a total length of about 90 kilometers. Those that are in blue color number, those are already completed, and those that are ongoing are in green color, and those that are red are still under pre-construction. We also have the Metro Manila Logistics Improvement Program. Under this, we have the sub-program Metro Manila Priority Bridge Seismic Improvement Project. This will ensure the safety of motorists that will use the Guadalupe Bridge and Lambingan Bridge. We also have the Priority Bridge Crossing Pasig Marikina River, Mangahan Floodway Bridges, and the Metro Manila Bridges Project. The next slide shows you the Inter-Island Linkage Bridge Program, particularly the following projects: the Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge, which is a 32.15 kilometer bridge, 219 billion peso ADB and AIIB-assisted program. This would open Bataan Technopark and Cavite Gateway to direct trade movement. And it is projected to be completed, to start on 2025 and to be completed in 2030. The Panay-Guimaras Negros Bridge, Mr. Chair, is a 33.09 kilometer, 321.29 billion peso project. It's an economic development cooperation fund funded and targeted to start on 2026 and completed at 2032. This would boost tourism, agriculture, and labor movement in Western Visayas. We also have in the next slide the Cebu-Mactan Port Bridge with a component of coastal road. This is an 8.68 kilometers. Provides decongestion relief for Cebu's main corridor. And the San Juanico Bridge. This bridge would be the port bridge. The second bridge, no, is a 2.61 kilometer and 14.3 billion peso worth project. It was targeted to start in 2028 and to be completed by 2030, and it supports the post-Yolanda economic recovery and doubles the capacity between Samar and Leyte provinces. We have, next slide please, also the Gicam Bridge, Mr. Chair. This 1.21 kilometer bridge, 1.15 billion peso project, ADB assisted. It's already 88% complete. And the Samal-Davao Island Connector Bridge, a 4.01 kilometer, 23.04 billion peso. It's a China official development assisted project. It's already 36% complete. This would cut travel time from 55 minutes to just 4.5 minutes once completed. Under our Metro Manila Bridge Seismic Improvement Project, we have the Guadalupe Bridge. This is a 114 meter, a 5.7 billion peso JICA-assisted project that will, when built, this is built to withstand an intensity, when constructed or improved, an 8 to 9 intensity earthquake. And also we have the Lambingan Bridge, also under this seismic improvement project, 98.1 meter. This would ensure bridge continuity in seismic response routes. These bridges are for improvement to be resilient backbone for EDSA and Southern National Capital Region under high magnitude scenarios. Also, another program that we're pursuing, Mr.
Now that was the ongoing Senate hearing on the DPWH priority bills and flagship projects. So isa pa rin yan sa mga titignan natin, hindi lang yung flood control project as well dahil marami ring mga sinasabi nga nila corruption, 'di ba, doon sa mga infrastructure, like yung mga pagpapagawa ng bridges, roads, hospital, classroom.
Bridges na walang dugtong, kalye na walang.
So yung mga
discovers street na walang semento.
Oh, exactly. Yung mga street lights na overpriced. So yung mga nakikita natin ngayon sa Bulacan pa lang, sa Oriental Mindoro pa lang na flood control projects nako. Katiting pa lang yan, hindi pa yan yung kumbaga kabuuan ng mga korupsyon dito sa atin. But we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Senate continues to hold deliberations on the proposed 2026 national budget. Let's get the latest from Mobile Journal, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, what's the latest there?
Good morning, Angela. So far, puro organizational meeting ang isinasagawa ng ilang mga Senate committees. That includes ang Committee on Public Works, which is ongoing ngayon. And unfortunately, wala sa pagdilig itong si DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon. However, he is represented by Assistant Secretary Constante Elianes Jr. na pinresent kanina yung ilan sa mga proyekto na ongoing and completed under the Infrastructure Flagship Program. That also includes, ito rin mamaya makakarinig din tayo ng updates mula naman kay MMDA Chairperson Romando Artes, maging kay sa Department of Transportation. And so far, mamayang hapon, tuloy pa rin ang isang plenary session dito sa Senado, pero we are yet to know kung sino nga ba ang magpi-privilege speech tulad kahapon na itong sila Senator Dante Marcoleta at Senator Chis Escudero pinaramdam ang kanilang mga kumukulong dugo sa plenaryo. Balik sa inyo.
Kumukulong dugo, word of the day. Marymon, kailan ba ulit magkakaroon ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing? And I was wondering also if they're going to ask Senator Mark Villar to talk about it, because if I can remember it correctly, si Yusek Bernardo ay under Senator Mark Villar when he was still a DPWH secretary. And yung mga tawag dito ng mga dinedescribe niya na mga pagnanakaw, etc. ay was still under him.
Yes, Angela. So far, wala pang final schedule. Even sa pag-check natin ng committee hearings, wala pang nakalagay na final date ng susunod na pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon Committee. Ang last na nasabi kasi dito ni na Senator Ping Lacson, naging Senate President Tito Soto, mga sa nakikita nila, last 1 or 2 na lang na pagdinig. Pero last time naman, ang nasabi ni Senator Ping, hanggat may lumalabas pa raw ng mga bagong impormasyon na kailangan mabusisi dito sa Senado, mukhang magpapatuloy pa ang pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon, and then later on magiging Blue Ribbon Blue Ribbon Committee meetings na lang, hindi na lang public hearings to pave way sa ICI. So far, wala pang confirmed schedule, pero we are expecting siguro anytime this week or probably next week ang Blue Ribbon.
Pero confirm ko lang, Marymon, na may privilege speech mamaya.
Yes, Angelo, pero nakadepende kasi sa magiging lineup ng mga senador. Halimbawa, kahapon ang nakuha natin si Senatora Marcoleta ang magpe-privilege speech, pero nakita natin dalawa sila ni Senator Chis Escudero ang nagsalita sa floor. And so far for this day, wala pa tayong impormasyon kung sino nga ba sa mga senador ang magte-take ng floor for their privilege speeches.
Oo. Kamusta naman yung atmosphere dyan sa Senado, especially kahapon nung matapos itong mga privilege speeches ng mga senador, and I think si Senator Jingo Estrada, meron din siyang statement na kahapon saying na according sa isang senador, 'di ba, yung may sila budget insertions. Kamusta?
Angela, ngayon compared sa kahapon, chill pa naman dito, kalmado pa, relax pa, pero maaaring magkaroon ulit ng heated or tension mamayang hapon sa plenaryo. Depende yan sa pagro-roll yun ng session. Pero so far kahapon, after ng privilege speeches ni Senator Marcoleta at Escudero, nakausap natin itong si Senator J.B. Ejercito, at sa pananaw niya raw, nakikita niya na parang nagkakaroon ng diversion sa sitwasyon na to, na nababaling daw ang atensyon dito sa mga sinasangkot o allegedly mga senador na involved sa anomalous flood control projects, samantalang nakakatakas daw yung mga kongresista mula sa Kamara na tunay raw na nasasangkot dito. Ang sabi pa nga ni Senator JV, saan daw ba nanggaling yung parking fees, yung SOP, yung pagbebenta raw yung paggamit daw ng lisensya, yung pagkuha raw o pagkubli ng mga kontrata, proyekto, hindi raw ba galing yun ng kanila Congressman Zaldigo maging sa mga kasama niya. So ang nasabi ni Senator JV, sana raw hindi raw mawala ang focus o atensyon sa mga tunay na nasasangkot.
That's right. Okay, maraming salamat sa ating mobile journalist na si Marymon Reyes, live dyan sa Senado.
And now let's head over to the House of Representatives. We have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos for updates.
Magandang umaga, Angela at Diego. Ngayong araw nga ay inaasahan ang pagpapatuloy ng plenary deliberation para sa 2026 budget, kung saan nga ngayong araw ay nakatakdang sumalang ang Office of the Vice President kasama ang iba pang ahensya ng pamahalaan gaya ng DSWD, DMW, DICT, DOLE, DILG, CSC at CESB para sa mga ilan na kasama ngayong araw. Sa budget ng OVP, matatandaan na nauna itong na-postpone at na-reschedule, pero personal itong dinaluhan ni Vice President Sara Duterte para nga sa 902.8 million pesos na budget niya. Matatandaan din na sinabi ni Vice President Sara Duterte na mas marami daw sana matutulungan ang kanyang opisina kung mas malaki ang budget. Pero mas pinili na lamang daw niya na hindi ito hingin dahil nga hindi rin naman daw ito ibibigay. Sa ngayon ay nagpapatuloy ang sesyon sa loob, pero hinihintay pa natin kung darating nga ba si Vice President Sara Duterte dahil nagkaroon lamang ng pagkakataon nitong si Vice President Sara Duterte na matanong ng dalawang mambabata, si Representative Arenico at Representative Antonio Tino noong nasa committee level para nga pumasa itong kanyang budget. Pero ayon sa sponsor nito na si Palawan Representative Jose Alvarez na budget sponsor ng OVP, itong araw ay mas tatalakayin pa sa plenary debates o deliberation ng budget ng OVP kung saan itatanong na rin ang ilang taon na nananatiling hiwaga sa mga mababatas natin dito sa mababang kapulungan ang mga nagastos na confidential funds ng OVP.
So, ibig sabihin, expect na rin natin na yung taliwas yung mangyayari ngayon dyan sa House of Representatives, yung nangyari sa Senado na mabilis lang na ipasa ng Senado yung budget ng OVP.
Maaaring magkaiba, Angela, dahil itong nangyari kahapon sa Senado na budget ng OVP ito ay committee level pa lamang. Yes. Kung tutuusin ay medyo kahawig nga nito yung nangyari noong nasa mababang kapulungan sa Kamara na committee level din na nagkaroon din ng parliamentary courtesy na ilang minuto lamang ay naipasa na o lumusot na ito sa committee level. At pagkatapos nga niyan hindi na nagtanong ang ilang mga mambabatas at sabi ay asahan na lamang at bubuksan ang mga tanong ng iba pang mambabatas sa plenaryo.
All right, thank you for that, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
Now, in other news, the Justice Department has resumed its probe into the disappearance of more than 30 cockfight enthusiasts. Here's the report.
The PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group has submitted missing supplemental evidence to the Justice Department's preliminary investigation into the disappearance of dozens of cockfight enthusiasts. Included are 5 flash drives previously requested by the camp of businessman Charlie Atong Ang. His lawyers had argued they could not file a counter affidavit without these.
Nakapag-submit po today ang CIDG ng 5 additional na USB at 5 affidavit na idinadagdag nila dun sa mga nasabi ko nung una, 7 folder yung binigay sa amin na mga 1 pie ang kapal, Yun, dagdagan nila yun ngayon ng 5 affidavit pa at 5 USB. Sa Miyerkules po, may sasubmit po sila na 1 pang USB. So, sa pangkalahatan po, 6 ang USB na isinasubmit ng CIDG at tinatanggap ng panel of prosecutors.
Out of more than 60 respondents facing complaints of multiple murder and kidnapping with serious illegal detention, only actress Gretchen Barreto has so far filed a counter affidavit. 5 new affidavits were also given to Ang's camp and other respondents, one of them from Glir Codilla, Ang's former security guard and among those accused in the Manila Arena disappearances.
It does not prevent naman whether a respondent will submit an affidavit in support of the complainant. So they would be a witness and respondent at the same time, like Patidongan, di ba? Nag-submit din siya ng affidavit niya, although he is a respondent in this case.
Ang is one of those being tagged as a mastermind in the disappearance of over 30 cockfight players between 2021 and 2022, according to whistleblower Julie Dondon Patidongan. He has denied Patidongan's allegations. He is expected to appear on November 3 when the DOJ resumes its preliminary investigation to submit his counter affidavit. Meanwhile, families of the missing Sabongeros remain determined to pursue justice.
Kailangan po talaga namin na ipakita kung gaano po kami seryoso sa aming mga ipinaglalaban. Sobrang hirap po, abala sa trabaho, kahit bumabagyo, kailangan talaga naming lumaban.
Kung gusto po namin paayos noon pa, pero sa case po namin walang katanggap kahit na ano.
Yan dapat talaga
for the meantime medyo natabunan tong issue na to nung pumutok na ito mga flood
dapat
control
wag makalimutan
projects.
because this is also a very serious case because it only reflects not only in case ni dito about this but a lot of things like this are happening na hindi pa nakakasuhan
Yes,
so we should set an example.
And also whatever happened to the search sa may Tagaytay, 'di ba? Medyo wala na rin tayong update doon. And yun doon sa mga bones na nakalap nila, ano yung naging resulta noon.
Yes.
There were partial results that came in, 'di ba? Pero I think hindi pa lahat. So, yun.
Parang
kailangan
dito,
din natin ng update regarding
more
that.
than this kasi closure for the families and accountability sa mga nagkasala dito.
Okay.
All right. Well, don't go away. We're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Cloudy skies and scattered rain showers are expected today over Metro Manila, Bulacan, Rizal, Quezon, and the Bicol region as easterlies continue to affect the country. Residents in these areas should prepare for possible flash floods or landslides as moderate to at times heavy rains may develop throughout the day, especially during the afternoon and evening. The rest of the country will generally experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms.
A Mandaluyong court has issued an arrest warrant for former PCSO General Manager Royina Garma and 4 others over the 2020 killing of Board Secretary Wesley Barayuga. The suspects, including ex-NAPOLCOM Commissioner Edilberto Leonardo and 3 police officials, face murder and frustrated murder charges. Barayuga was shot dead in his car by motorcycle-riding gunmen in Mandaluyong. The PNP says one of the officers has been dismissed, another resigned, and one is under restrictive custody. Authorities are also checking if some of the accused may have fled abroad.
The Philippines, in partnership with UNESCO, hosted a global conference highlighting the critical role of access to information in governance and disaster preparedness. Mobile journalist Fatima Baduria has the report.
In celebration of the International Day of Universal Access to Information this year, the Philippines, in partnership with UNESCO, hosted the global conference on making environmental information accessible. The event brought together international experts and leaders to discuss freedom of information as a right, ensuring disaster preparedness. Experts highlighted how access to information systems should be in place to strengthen governance.
Freedom of expression is critical building block for a democratic society. The citizens are entitled and need to know what is happening in the society, what is government doing at different levels.
The Philippines has yet to make a law of its right to information bill. However, Presidential Communications Office Acting Secretary Dave Gomez assured the delegates that it is top priority.
We'll be taking up this bill in the cabinet of our president, and we are encouraging our president to certify this bill as urgent for the passage of our Congress.
Canada's Centre for Law and Democracy Executive Director Toby Mandel called the Philippines Executive Order No. 2 on right to information flawed.
There's a lot of things that could be improved. The Philippines needs to stand up and do the necessary and adopt the law.
Day 2 of the conference is set to delve into the role of open government partnership, civil society, and digital tools on accelerating access to information across countries.
We have to publish accessible data, not only from the executive branch, but also justice and legislative branches.
The conference highlighted how access to information does not merely provide knowledge, but protect lives and empower people. Mobile journalist Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
Okay, so an hour ago, there's a report about Kibuloy. He was rushed to the hospital, the BJMP, diba? Bureau of Jail Management and Penology confirmed that Apollo Kibuloy was brought to a public hospital noong September 11.
Walang sinasabi kung bakit?
He was later diagnosed with community-acquired pneumonia. Okay, moderate risk ang ano nila doon. But as of today, September 30, he's still confined at the hospital.
Community-acquired. So, yan ang karamihan ng common sickness sa mga kulungan.
Yung mga masisikip na kulungan.
Oo, mga spaces. And given his age, siguro kailangan nga to check it. Kasi meron sila yung in-house na clinic. Pag hindi
pero ito
capable,
nasa public hospital siya.
hospital.
Which hospital, that I don't know yet. Pero yan po yung update dito kay former, hindi pala former, no? Still Pastor Apollo Kibuloy.
Former pastor,
But going back dun sa issue ng flood control and of course yung pagre-resign ni Congressman Zaldico yesterday, he's still under blue notice, no? Interpol. Yun nga, sana sabi nga nila, mas maigi na, mas umuwi na lang siya dito para sagutin yung mga allegations against him.
So I want to see the bigger fish. I don't believe that they are the bigger fish. And nakaka-stress na. I mean, parang nararamdaman ko na rin yung tinatawag nilang fatigue. Because a lot of people don't see progress with what's happening, no, about it's been how many months in the speech ni PBBM when he mentioned since July, what real progress have we seen except nagtuturuan ng both chambers?
Yes, but ang sasabihin nila sa ICI yesterday na gano'n na sila, nagkaroon na ng recommendation sa Ombudsman to file cases against former Representative Zaldico and officials of DPWH who are involved in the
yung officials ng DPWH, mga small fish.
Yes.
Big fish, di ba? Huwag yung galunggong. Hanapin nyo yung bangus.
Mga salmon, gano'n.
Yung salmon. Yung galunggong, wala yan, di ba?
Pero yun ang ating development dun sa nangyayari ngayon. And again, ang ICI has reiterated through their spokesperson na ayaw nila magkaroon ng live stream na investigation o trial dahil maaari daw magamit ito sa political objective ng kung sino man. We will see. Dahil pagpasa nila ngayon sa Ombudsman, titignan pa rin naman ng Ombudsman yan, di ba? Doon sa kanilang mga initial findings as well.
Alright. Well, before we let you go, I'd like to leave a quote which applies to all those who are also greedy for money. A simple life isn't about having less. It's about needing less and finding more in what you already have. Makontento kayo kung ano meron kayo. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.